Hey folks, it's William with All Solar Texas. Thanks for checking us out today. On this episode of our podcast, Your Texas Energy Expert, we're going to be talking to a certified public accountant all about the tax credit. We're going to be separating fact from fiction, going through our most frequently asked questions that we receive from customers. Stay tuned, check it out. Hey folks, thanks for joining the channel, but before we dive in, please make sure to hit that subscribe button and don't forget to tap on that notification bell. That keeps you up to date with all the latest energy news that we produce here on the channel, and it does help us out with YouTube a little bit. Lastly, reach out to us, give us a call, send us an email, check out our website. We love hearing from customers, and whether or not you're an existing solar customer and you just have questions about your system, or if you're a potential solar customer and you're looking to get the best deal possible and be treated fairly, reach out to us. We respond quickly and we can't wait to hear from you.
All right. Well, good afternoon, David. Thank you so much for joining us. Really appreciate your time. This has been a much requested podcast topic, the solar tax credit. We're super excited. You and I have been working together for years. You've been my personal accountant. And then when we got into the business, you've been my business accountant, our CPA. You saved us tens of thousands over the years. So I definitely want to just say thank you for that. And certainly thank you for your time. So for our viewers that are just joining us, why don't you kind of open up by just giving us a little bit about your background and kind of who you are and the services that you provide.
Sure. So my name's David Mendoza. I'm a licensed CPA. I work for a firm, regional firm, Driscoll Screw McCormick. I've been practicing tax law now for about, I guess 8 or 9 years. The services I provide range from tax return, tax compliance, tax resolution, audits, financial audits, 401k audits, tax consulting, you name it. As far as industries, they range from real estate to professional services, construction. We do small individuals all the way small businesses, and I also deal with international and interstate companies. So you name it, and I've done it.
Yeah, and you also do business consulting too, because I know when we were first starting this business and we were looking at how to structure the business, you were our first call, and you kind of helped us think through what's the difference between S Corp, LLC, and all of that
Right.
stuff. So there really is a lot that falls underneath your umbrella of expertise.
Right.
So what we're going to be focusing on today, which is like the hottest topic right now, it's tax season, right? People just finished doing their taxes. A lot of questions are coming to me from my customers about the federal tax credit for solar. What is it? How does it work? For those that have been watching my channel for long, know that I am not a tax professional, so I do not give tax advice. I think that's one of the problem areas within the solar industry, is that we have solar reps out there speaking out of line and out of turn about the tax credit. And so they're spreading misinformation. And so that's what we really want to dive in today, is separate fact from fiction, right? What's true, what can we accomplish, and then kind of what's just rumor and myth or just sales tactics, right? So first, let's start off by just saying, by asking the question, what is the solar tax credit? When did it come in? What does that actually look like right now?
Yeah, so that's been around for several years now, and kind of the reasoning behind it is, we want to go to renewable energy, right? So the IRS invested all this money to create this credit to incentivize taxpayers and business owners to install solar on their homes or their commercial property or their farm. So currently the tax credit is 26% through 2022, falls off after 2024, but for 2023 and 24, you're at 22%. So that's really the history behind it. It's a federal credit only, so it doesn't affect your state tax whatsoever. That's not to say that your state doesn't have their own incentives. But this is really more on the federal side.
So is there a difference between the residential and commercial, or maybe even agricultural tax incentive? Are there different percentages? How does that work when you're looking at residential versus commercial, possibly ag?
Yeah, it's all the same. It's all the same. So the real difference is if you're on a commercial side, you have an additional depreciation. So for example, you have a residential rental or even a commercial rental. You want to install solar panels on the property. Okay, one, you get the tax credit for whatever rate it is for that year that you install. Plus, you get to depreciate the property because now it's considered a business property. So you get the credit, which is a dollar for dollar off your tax. Plus, you get the depreciation expense, which is not a dollar for dollar, but you still get the tax savings of the depreciation. So depending on how your business is set up, if you have an LLC or an S corp, both those entities don't pay any federal tax. So what happens there, that credit just gets pushed down to the individual shareholder or partner, whoever owns the business. The personal side, it's no different. If you want to put solar panels on your residence, you get the same credit as if you were putting on a commercial property. So no difference, just on the commercial side or on the business side, you get that additional depreciation.
Excellent. Yeah, we have a lot of commercial customers that reach out to us. We build carports for them, and then we put solar on top of that. And they're always looking at what are those additional tax incentives if I am a commercial business. So that kind of brings me to somewhat of a gray area. We have folks that are business owners, but they're running businesses out of their personal home. What does that look like if it's their primary residence, but they run a business out of their home? Is there any additional tax incentive, depreciation, et cetera, that they can get? Or is that kind of where the line becomes blurry?
Yeah, that's definitely a gray area. You definitely still get the credit, regardless if it's your personal or if you're running your business out of your home. That doesn't change. You get the credit no matter what. Yes, if you're running your business out of your personal residence, a piece would be considered what they call a depreciable basis. So not the entire amount, because obviously the solar is generating energy for both your home, and if you have a shop out back, that percentage would be the depreciable basis for the depreciation expense. So yes, there's a gray area, but it's not uncommon. I see it all the time, but you just got to be able to do it correctly. You need to have someone that knows how to do it as far as the allocation and make sure that everything is correct.
Yeah, so let's talk about that, because I'd say probably about 80% of my customers, when I ask them, about who prepares their taxes, because we start getting into this tax discussion.
Yeah.
And I'm not a tax professional, so I always say you should, consult your CPA or the person or the organization that prepares your taxes. 80% of them say I do it myself. I use TurboTax.
Right.
So when I look at that, we used to use TurboTax. We also used to go to H&R Block. When we brought our taxes to you, not only did you prepare our taxes for that year, but you also looked back at the last few years, and you found some substantial errors that we had made. So even though we were in TurboTax and it said, hey, you're good, you're good to go, you found some areas where we had overpaid and then some areas where we had underpaid. So what is some of the risk if I am a homeowner or a business owner, I'm looking to go solar, but I typically just prepare my taxes myself? What could I be leaving on the table? What does that look like? What are some of the risks involved?
Yeah, TurboTax and any other free services is good. I don't like talking bad about any other service, but it's good if you're just a W-2. If it's a W-2, you and your wife work, have a W-2, great. It works great. But once you get into the nuances and the more sophisticated side of the tax law, that's where you want to make sure that you're seeing a professional, making sure that you're doing everything correctly and not getting, getting letters and notices from the IRS or from your state board later down the road, So I mean, those are some of the risks. I mean, from a small business standpoint, you could be leaving, home office expenses on the table. You could be leaving other credits that you just didn't know about. There's a lot of nuances that the average taxpayer just doesn't know about, because I mean, that's not their expertise, and that's completely fine. I mean, I can't do what you do. I mean, you can't do what I do. So that's why we hire professionals to that know more than what we do. I mean,
Yeah, and that's the position that we found ourselves in, right? I'm a do-it-yourself guy as much as possible. I'll make repairs around the house if I could do it, right? It saves money, it saves time, it saves you having to make a dozen calls and get quotes from people to do simple projects. And so, for my family, I was thinking, hey, taxes, do it yourself, TurboTax.
right. Yeah.
After working with you, I think it was your recommendation when we first decided to go solar on our own home, back before I was even selling solar. I remember it vividly. We had walked into your office. It was, maybe 10 years ago now. And we were thinking of leasing a solar system. And you looked across the table and you said, why would you lease? You don't get the federal tax credit. And you convinced us to buy solar, which is now a big item that I'm constantly trying to inform
Right.
people on. Is there's nothing for free. And if you get a free solar system, nothing out of pocket, that means that someone else is buying it, the solar company. You're not going to get the federal tax credit. You're not going to get the benefits. So it was actually, I could credit you for talking us into, owned solar,
Right.
which is now a major part of what we do.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And the great thing about the credit is you did it once, you sell your house, you can do it again. It's a multiple, there's no limit. There's no limit, and there's no annual limit, and there's no limit on the amount of times you can take the credit. So that's the beauty of it. Yes. So even if you're thinking of moving or selling your house in a couple of years, I mean, yeah, put the credit. I mean, get the solar, get the credit, sell the house, okay, and do it again, and you can get the same credit. So that's the beauty of it. Yeah.
Yeah, so that kind of brings us to another kind of
Yeah.
frequently asked question. I work with a lot of customers that have at least one rental property. And so they're looking into solar not only for their primary residence, but also for their residentials. And so that is a question that I get asked is, can I apply the federal tax credit to all of my residentials as well? Or does it just apply to the primary residence? Can you shed some light on that?
Yeah, you can, if you have multiple rentals, you can put a solar system on each of them and get the credit. There's no limit. There's no annual limit. And again, there's no, it's really, the IRS looks at it as a whole, right?
Mhm.
They're going to look at your total property or the total cost for that year and issue the credit that way. They're not going to look at, oh, well, there's 5 different units. No, it's looked at as a whole. So no, there's really no limit, and that's kind of the beauty of it.
Yeah, and that's one of the things I try to inform customers. The IRS doesn't want an itemized list of all
Right.
of the different adders. We have customers that put in a battery, they may put in a generator, right? That they may want to do some other work or include
Right.
some other additions as part of that broader solar package that all ties together. And I'm frequently telling them, we don't need to itemize it for the IRS. So what's that experience like? You're my tax guy. I walk in, I just put solar. What do you actually need from me? What documents do you need from me? Do you need the
Right.
contract? You need the loan contract? Like, what do you actually need from me in order for you to
Yeah.
do your calculations?
Yeah, the first thing I'll ask for is a purchase agreement. That's number one. We need to see what the total cost is. And just to kind of expand on your prior question, and it doesn't have to be an entire solar system. If you install your solar system and then 2 years down the road you want to add more panels, that's going to be an additional credit. So it's really, it doesn't have to be the entire system. It can be anything renewable, anything that increases the efficiency of your home. So it doesn't have to be an entire system. It can be it can be one panel if you want to add it, if it's going to make a difference in your home. So I mean, that's there's really no limit as far as what you can do with the credit. Yeah,
Except I'd say probably the only limit is you are probably looking at taking the tax credit that's available for that year. So for instance,
right.
if I put in solar system this year, I'm looking at 26%. If I add a battery next year, am I still getting 26% or am I getting 22%?
It'll be the 22%. So it'll be the rate for that year. So, and again, it doesn't even have it. It can be putting in a new roof. If your roof is not going to withhold the weight of the solar panels, anything that you do to the roof to sustain the weight of the solar panels would be included in the cost of the solar credit. So, or if you, like you said, if the parking structure, that would be part of the cost. Or
anything that is required in order for that solar
Correct.
system to be installed. And so we work with customers all the time where they have a roof that is 20 years old, it's on its last legs, and they don't want to put in solar because they don't have the money to, put into a new roof, or they want to do the roof first and then they, want to look at solar later. And so that's where we come in. We say, well, it depends on what work you want to do with your roof, because we can, provide that adder, right, to get everything pulled in at once. So that kind of pivots me off to another question that I get from customers is, how does a federal tax credit work? Is it a rebate, right? Does it come back to you in a separate check? What's the mechanism that money gets delivered? And then who's eligible for that? Is everybody eligible for that? Or is there something some threshold of maybe, tax liability that I have to have in order to recoup that? How does that work?
Yeah, so one, there's no income limitation. So you can make $1 million in 1 year and you'll still qualify for the credit. So there's no limitation. It is limited to your tax liability for the year. So a lot of customers that I see have a misconception that they're going to get a straight check for the credit. So, for example, their credit at the end of the year is going to be $30,000. So they think, oh, well, I need to file my taxes now so I can get my $30,000. I'm like, whoa, wait, that's not really how it works. So you have to look at your tax liability. So for example, two W-2 earners, $200,000 a year. Okay, their annual tax is probably going to be about $25,000, give or take, 20 to 25,000. Let's just say 20. So that credit of $30,000 will offset that 20. Okay, so that remaining 10, well, they think they're going to get it back. Well, no, that carries over into the following year. So really, the refund that you do get is whatever withholding you've already paid in throughout the year, or estimated tax payments. So again, W-2 earners are $200,000 a year. They've already withheld $20,000 in the year, so from their W-2. So the credit's going to wipe out their tax liability, and their refund will actually be their withholding from their W-2, and that's what their refund is.
So it's going to come back in the same exact same, yeah.
Correct.
How many years does that roll over? Because that's another question I get is, how many years do I have to recoup that money?
Yeah, that credit carries over for 20 years. So
wow.
It's a long time. So as long as you have tax for the next 20 years, you're going to recoup that solar credit. So you're still going to get the full 30. You're still going to get the benefit of the full 30. It just depends on what year you actually get it. So, and it's really not a bad deal, right? I mean, it wipes out your tax for 1 year. It's going to help you the next, and then you're still going to get a nice little refund in the following year. So it's really not, it's not gone just because you're not going to get a straight check for the $30,000 of the credit. You're still going to get the full benefit of it. It's not lost.
Right. One of the last questions here, and then we'll kind of wind this down, is the 26% federal tax credit as it currently exists, I mean, that's a legislative move, right? The Congress put this tax incentive in there. Are you aware, because I'm not, and this is why I'm asking, and I'm in the industry, so I'm constantly looking into this. Things could change at any time, right? I mean, Congress can make a decision to extend it, to raise it, to lower it. Is there anything that you're aware of that's currently in maybe a bill or maybe part of this Buy Back Better plan that's out there that would be a specific benefit to solar customers if it is passed, or is there really nothing in the pipeline right now?
Yeah, like you said, it changes all the time, and it's usually retroactive. So we can be in year 2025 and you're going to file your tax return, or 2026, and they enact a new law saying, okay, we're going to extend. We didn't spend all of our initial investment. We still have X amount of dollars left. Let's just extend it. And that always happens where it's retroactive. But you know that I don't know if that's going to happen. I think it all comes back into the budget. You know, if the money is still there, if their initial investment is still there, I don't see why they wouldn't extend it. So I don't know. I don't know necessarily if it's in the pipeline. I would expect something here pretty soon as far as if it's going to get extended or not. We do have it until through 2024. So there's still some time, but not necessarily if it's going to increase anytime soon or be extended. That'll be closer to the expiration date.
Yeah,
and until after.
Yeah, and that's why I'm telling customers is we don't know, right? So if you're sitting around waiting for some magical day where Congress is going to actually do their job and, you know, put a different cap on it or extend it, you know, it's probably not the wisest thing, because today is what we know, right? We know 26% today. We don't know what it's going to be next year or the year after that. So there could be, you know, that they could raise it, but they could lower it. But the fact is, it's there now. We have the budget there for it now. And, you know, we could make some decisions now that are really going to benefit us. And in fact, that's probably one of my last questions for you is there anybody or any circumstance, either your commercial, residential, where going solar and choosing to go solar is a bad idea? Like financially, it's a bad idea.
Not necessarily. I always tell clients, you want to buy, right? You want to buy, you want to get the credit. There's certain instances where it maybe doesn't make sense to buy, and maybe it's better to lease. But those are rare cases where it doesn't benefit them to buy. But not if you have the cash or if you have cheap funding, there's really no reason why you wouldn't install the solar and why you wouldn't buy it outright. So no.
All right, awesome. Well, thank you so much, David. But before we take off, I want to make sure folks know how to get a hold of you. So if people have additional questions, can you kind of just break down what's your availability look like? Like, how do people get a hold of you if they have questions, or maybe they want you to start looking at their taxes? What's the best way to get a hold of you?
Yeah, I think the best way would be through email. And I'm more than happy for you to share my email and contact information. The process would be, you know, send me an email. Hey, I saw the podcast. This is my tax situation. You know, one thing I will ask is for at least 1 or 2 years of prior year tax returns, if that's something that customers want me to look at. I would ask for maybe just a list of questions, and give me maybe a day or two to get back to you. But you can call me, leave me a voicemail, and I'll get back to you. But I think email would be the
yeah. I'll definitely throw your email in the description below. Yeah. So for those of you watching on YouTube, you could go to the description below. I'll also make sure to include your other contact information as well. The last question, which is more about if I do want to reach out to you, are there any costs? Like, at what point do you start charging me money? I just wanted to kind of put that out there because that was one of the unique things about my experience with you. You did so much for us. We got so much value. And it's not like you were, billing us like a lawyer does, for every 15-minute interval where you checked an email, I got a bill for it, and I was really impressed. So I just want to kind of give you an opportunity to share how you structure that.
Yeah, my model has always been, the first phone call, first email, first contact, I don't charge for. I see it as just a way to get to know the client and for them to get to know me, right? To see if it's a good fit, and sometimes it's not, and that's okay. And it goes both ways. So that's really why I've chosen to go that way of the first meet. I'm not going to charge for it. Let's just once I start providing services and something of value to you, that's when I'll start charging. And it's going to be an hourly rate. But we don't have the luxury of charging like attorneys do. But
right.
My rates are usually pretty reasonable. So once I start providing valuable service and information, that's when the charges will come.
Yeah, we've definitely found them reasonable for us, right? A lot of my customers are saying, well, why would I pay a CPA when TurboTax is free? It's like, well, you're paying for that in money you're leaving on the table or in risk that you're taking because you're not preparing your taxes properly.
Yeah, and that happens all the time. That they go to H&R Block and sometimes they're paying H&R Block more than they would have paid me. So and they come to me and I find all these mistakes. So was it worth it? Now you're paying twice as much when you could have done it right the first time. So I see where you're coming from, and I agree. So yeah.
All right. Well, thank you, David, again, so much. Thank you for just kind of shedding some light on this. I'm sure that we'll probably have additional podcasts down the road as maybe legislation changes or other new incentives are introduced into this industry. I definitely know you to be a man with integrity. I know that you spoke about, sometimes it doesn't work. One of the reasons that makes us unique compared to other solar companies and other kind of people in the industry is that we operate with integrity. We're not going to lie to you. We're not going to cheat you. I have found you to be, very similar in that you're not going to lie for me on my taxes, right? What you're going to do is you're going to tell me what I can do and what I can't do. And you're just going to, provide me with that level of service, but you're not going to do anything that I tell you to do that's going to be outside the bounds of the law. And so I know that there's probably predatory people in your business too, right? That probably, ruin the reputation of really solid CPAs, which is probably why people are hesitant about calling a CPA and why people are hesitant about calling me about solar because they've had bad experiences. So I just wanted to make that point as well. I think it's really important.
Well, thank you. I do.
All right, folks, that about wraps it up for today. But before you go, please make sure to drop a comment below and let us know what other topics are you interested in learning about. I will reach out to people and constantly be building these videos around the questions that I get from you. So don't forget to reach out to us as well. Send us an email, check out our website, give us a call. We are here for you. We are your Texas solar energy experts, and we can't wait to hear from you. Thank you, and God bless.